Since Watertown Strong Schools released our Fund Schools First position statement on the CPA tax, the conversation on both sides of the issue has ramped up. We want to take this opportunity to clarify our position and clear up some misinformation that is circulating. We're at the Hosmer School, and David Stokes is going to answer some of these questions. The first question is it true that yes on 5 doesn't harm Watertown schools?
Watertown Strong Schools thinks that passing the CPA now would actually be harmful to the school funding effort needed in the future. The proponents of the CPA are thinking that Watertown voters will actually pass both the CPA and the future debt exclusion override for the schools. Watertown Strong Schools is not willing to gamble at this point. We are asking everyone to vote no on question 5 now so that the funding will be secure, and then we can continue the CPA conversation at that point in time. We know everyone wants better schools, and we hope that everyone would vote to better our schools when asked to do so, but we also recognize that Watertown is economically diverse, and it could just be that 2 tax increases in 2 years is too much, especially with the 2-family property tax increase that just happened this past year. It's all about priorities. It may come down to affordability and tax fatigue for the voters of Watertown.
We're here with David Stokes at the Lowell Elementary School, and he's going to answer another question for us. Is Watertown Strong Schools anti-CPA and anti-tax?
Absolutely not. Watertown Strong Schools' position on the CPA is that we don't have a position on the merits of the CPA. What we have a position on is the timing of this ballot question. Investment in historic preservation and affordable housing and open spaces are all worthwhile endeavors and goals to have. But these opportunities, we think, do not rise to the level of the priority of those needed renovations for our schools. In addition, Watertown Strong Schools is definitely not anti-tax. Property taxes fund our schools, long and short. We advocate for debt exclusion. We will advocate for the debt exclusion in 2 years when it comes up so that we can renovate our schools. And we would advocate for any tax that improves the learning and the environment for our students.
We're here at the Cunniff School with David Stokes answering another of your questions. Why is renovating our school buildings so urgent right now?
So that urgency has actually been growing over the last 3 years. First, we put in applications to the Massachusetts School Building Authority to help fund a new high school. In addition, though, and more importantly, the elementaries are overcrowded, and overcrowding has become critical at this juncture. Let me just illustrate that for you a little bit. The Cunniff School, right behind me, last year had to give up their music and art classrooms to become real classrooms. And art was delivered on a cart. This year, one of those classrooms was subdivided into 2. 2 classes in the same room, a 2nd and a 3rd grade. At the Lowell School, the computers had to be moved out of the computer lab so it could be transitioned into a classroom because space was needed. The Hosmer had to move out a preschool class to the Phillips School building because they needed a classroom. And the preschool program, in the midst of growing, needed to continue to state-mandated requirements to meet those state-mandated requirements. So there's actually 2 classrooms in the Phillips School building for the preschool. All said and done, the schools have been doing their best to get by. Today, we are at our maximum. We're centralizing that enrollment at the Phillips School in order to move students around. If you're a new student to our schools and your neighborhood school is at capacity for your grade, you now have to go to a different school. In addition, that's just today. The latest enrollment forecasts actually show over the next 10 years a 9% increase in our students. But for our already overcrowded schools, any increase, even as small as 9%, can have a significant impact without the needed renovations that we keep talking about.
Hi, we're at the Watertown Phillips School Administration Building, and David Stokes is going to answer another question. The question is, how has the school district addressed these projected enrollment increases?
So, Watertown Schools hired SMMA, an architectural firm that specializes in education, to conduct a master facilities plan. That plan covers all 5 school buildings for the next 10 years. They seated a selection committee that was a cross-section of residents and teachers, administrators, school personnel, town counselors, and town planners. They met all summer and had 3 public community forums. The summer work resulted in real options with real drawings and associated building costs. And those costs range from $165 million for the most basic renovations, just what we could scrape by with, through and including $400 million for school buildings to be built brand new from the ground up. Watertown as a community will need to prioritize those recommendations and decide how best to proceed after that plan is presented sometime later this fall. Watertown Strong Schools expects that the favored option is going to be somewhere in the middle of that range, something that is a little bit more than basic renovations. It actually goes far enough to address some of the 21st century learning needs of our students and their learning environment.
Watertown Strong Schools is here with David Stokes at the high school, where he's going to answer another one of our questions. What about the Massachusetts School Building Authority? Won't they pay for most of our school renovations?
So Watertown has applied to the MSBA for the last 3 years for a new high school. But that funding is only half of what we will need as a town. In addition, that process is very lengthy. Right now, our neighbor Belmont took 10 years before they were accepted into the program. So I'm not sure that we can wait for that to happen. It might happen someday. We're not entirely sure. But what we know for sure is that all 5 of our schools need real renovation right now. Our elementaries are overcrowded, and our high school and our middle school also need renovations to help with that overcrowding.
So we're at Watertown Middle School with David Stokes, and he's going to answer another question for us. Doesn't Watertown have to pass the CPA now if it's on the ballot?
The answer is no. In 2005, Watertown had the CPA on the ballot, and it did not pass. And here we are in 2016, it's on the ballot again. And Watertown Strong Schools' position is, of course, that we are asking people to vote no in 2016, because we know that the school renovations are coming right around the corner, and we need to secure those before the CPA. If after the school funding is secured, we can then put it back on the ballot and have that conversation. All it takes is a majority vote of the town council or a petition with enough signatures to put it back onto the ballot at that time.
We have another question for David. Can't CPA funds be used for schools directly?
No. The answer is no. Our schools would need to be designated as historically significant in order for that to happen, and Watertown Strong Schools doesn't believe that any of our schools hold that designation at this time. So, hi, I'm David Stokes. I'm a part of Watertown Strong Schools, and I have been answering some questions for you about the Watertown Strong Schools' position on the opposition of the CPA. We're asking voters to vote no and postpone the CPA conversation until after our schools' funding for their renovations, much needed renovations, are secured. So just one final thought. We know Watertown is economically diverse. People will be making lots of choices as they go to the polls, and we would just ask you to consider the fact that even if you can afford 2 taxes in a row over the next 2 years, your neighbors may not be able to, and we want to grow as a community, strong and steadfast and strong in our schools. That's the most important priority. Thanks for watching.